Ethan Budowski writes, Dan talked all week about how the Bills don't lose big and they're a powerhouse and a juggernaut, and how Billy Gil's analysis was lazy and bad. And then it turned out everything Billy said about them was 100% true. Somebody follows up with Le Batard is one of the worst analysts around. Not even sure he watches the game. You win, Billy. The game has passed me by. Given that the analysis of Cowboys 49ers is Skip Bayless throwing a jersey in the trash and Skip and Stephen A. Smith laughing, and Shannon Sharp also laughing and trying to sell you his alcohol as well. Given that that's what the analysis is, you're ahead of the game. You're a visionary. The future is big for you with the analysis of the Bills suck. Josh Allen has a stupid face.
Listen, good morning, by the way. I was telling everybody here, because they're like, wow, you got it right. I was like, guys, I'm not here to gloat today. Come on. I just, I watch the games and I tell you what I see. That's it. That's all I'm here to do. Sometimes it's not popular, but I'm not here to gloat. I'm not here to, celebrate, rub it in. Good season by the Bills. Josh Allen, a couple tweaks here and there. Kid's got a bright future, maybe. We'll see.
He turns the ball over a lot. He was reckless at a bad time. I couldn't believe that the Bengals' offensive line was dominant. The Bills spent so much money on that defensive line. Von Miller was a missing piece. They obviously missed him yesterday. They were down to their fifth safety. But still, I thought they were one of the four best teams in the league. And Mike Ryan and I owe the Bengals an apology because I thought they were going to regress, and they're better. And their defense is really good.
I like the opportunity to apologize yet again. I caught on to the fact that I was way wrong about the Bengals a couple of weeks ago, but let me once again publicly admit how wrong I was. They were probably a year ahead of schedule last season, and yeah, it was a lucky run, but that team's got it. That quarterback's got it. I was really impressed with the offensive line, how they manhandled that D-line for Buffalo. They got so much push, and they created so many chances down the middle of the field against Joe Burrow. That's not something that you do. You do not give him the middle of the field. He'll tear you apart. That is a really good team, and I can't wait for the AFC Championship. They're riding a 3-game win streak against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Mahomes is hobbled. They may make back-to-back Super Bowls.
It seems like a long time ago that Tyreek Hill and an assortment of Chiefs were saying, why can't we win 6 or 7 championships? And now it comes down to a high ankle sprain and probably the worst opponent that they can have coming in there, right? Like for them in the AFC, I really did think the whole season it was going to be Bills Chiefs again, and they put up their biggest stinker of the season. It's not just that they got embarrassed at home. They haven't scored fewer points than that this season. They're not an offense that gets held to 10 points, and they just – I can't believe the Cincinnati offensive line held up like that.
Joe Burrow, second best quarterback in the league. Can we just say it now? Or I think it's time.
Behind Tom Brady?
Behind Mahomes, currently. Second best.
Stugotz has been saying for months that Joe Burrow's the best quarterback in the league, and I feel like it was just him saying a thing. But people might start saying that now, and he was ahead, even if he was just saying a thing.
He's got that Brady je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. Oh, wow. They've beaten Mahomes 3 times in a row.
Yeah. Martin also has.
Good jawline too.
But four in a row.
I need to stop talking about quarterbacks' looks.
Four in a row for Cincinnati against Kansas City. I can't. There's something about that uniform where it takes a while for a team to be great for you to actually believe that it's real. The Bengals are so associated with failure in my lifetime that I can't fathom them beating Kansas City 4 times in a row. It's just it doesn't compute. That I read an article last night that Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow are the most successful coach and quarterback tandem in Cincinnati history. They've been successful for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And so it's
Romo yesterday was saying they've been doing this together for a long time.
For 2 years. They had the number 5 pick in the draft in 2020.
I love Tony Romo. He was awesome yesterday. They cut to him with Jim Nantz in the booth, and he was chewing something while Jim Nantz was asking him a question, and he had to swallow it before he could answer, and Jim Nantz just awkwardly looked at the camera and smirked, and it was the best thing I've ever seen.
Zach Taylor played Chad Henne in an Alamo Bowl.
How about Chad Henne? Can we have one time for Chad Henne? Can we get it up for him?
Well,
I mean, come on.
Yes, and I think Tony.
98-yard drive.
Tony, you need to capitulate, okay?
15th year in the league.
Your team is no.
Dan, do not start with me, Dan.
Tony,
Do not start with
your
me.
team is no good when it allows a 12-play, 98-yard drive from Chad Henne when
Dan.
you could have wrecked Kansas City right
Did you
there.
watch the game, Dan?
The Jags did look better than the Bills.
There was a fumble at the 4-yard line Jamal Agnew had. If not for that fumble, Dan,
Tony?
it would be the ultimate capitulation,
Tony,
Dan.
I have not seen Chad Henne go 98 yards ever.
Hey,
not
hold on.
college, not ever.
Hold on. Let's fact check that
and
somebody.
if
I don't know who,
Daniel
but somebody.
Jones was Joe Burrow, the Giants probably would have won too. Like they're not going to do the if game.
As a recovering Browns fan, I can tell you, Chad Henne in the divisional round, as good
Different
as Patrick
animal.
Mahomes.
Yeah, different animal.
Barry Jackson, Jessica, is stepping into the hornet's nest. Yesterday, he dared to go after something that tends to be sacred ground. He writes, a reminder that today is Bally's annoying Heat Kids Day broadcast. For those who enjoy it, wonderful. They're all good kids. Don't understand why Bally can't have one professional broadcast on Bally Sun and a kids broadcast on Bally, Florida, like CBS does with its Nickelodeon NFL game. And somebody writes in, Barry, kid broadcast is the highlight of the season for some casual fans. It's a regular season game in January, not the NBA Finals. This is how you grow the game and, in turn, your readership. And he says, great, have a separate broadcast. Would you want to hear Bills-Bengals with your neighbor's 11-year-old nephew announcing it today?
That would be wonderful, though. I would listen to it.
We don't know they're all good kids. I mean, we assume so. It's nice to say.
And I don't
but-
believe
Two of
that
them went to Columbus.
And I don't believe that tweeter that's the highlight of their year. I mean, come on. I enjoy it.
You circle that on your
I
calendar
watched
every year.
it, but this tweeter's like, it's the highlight for some of us. That's not true.
No, people got very defensive about this because a bunch of people tagged me in that on Twitter, so I quote tweeted and just said, here. Which, by the way, I had to look up if it was HERE or HEAR because really, I didn't know. It's here as in listen, like here. Anyways, someone got in my mentions and they were like, what's wrong with the kids broadcast? This is how you grow opportunities in sports media. I'm like, this, first of all, like, there's no one who's getting hired for a job 12 years later that has this on their resume as an 8-year-old.
Except for Graham Bissinger.
Also, it's all of the kids of the employees who work for the Heat already. So you're not really giving opportunities
really?
to kids.
There's nothing wrong with that.
They're Nepo babies?
It's exactly
It's the
the
Nepo
business.
baby broadcast? I've been sold a lie. I thought these were like kids they just found.
I
Like
did not know.
the kids who nail the morning announcements at their school.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. That's what it should be.
Yeah, you just want the job. You should go be a kid broadcaster, Witty. You'd be good at it.
You can convince people you're 17.
Hello, youths.
You think so?
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. I'd like to hear the audience. Here, ERE, or EAR, because I always thought it was here. I didn't think it was HEAR. I thought it was ERE. You had to
That
look
makes
it
me
up.
feel better as an esteemed columnist, radio host. Yeah, I had to look it up.
It actually makes sense now, but I had never considered it before, and I am now learning something.
I just don't understand why Barry Jackson has to preserve the integrity of the 3:30 on a Sunday Heat Pelicans during the NFL playoffs broadcast. Like, I mean, only the diest of diehards are watching that game.
He's the diest, really.
Is that why they do it, though? Is it because it's opposite the NFL divisional round and they put it there purposely because they know it's going to do a smaller
As far as I
number?
can tell, it's always on a Sunday in January. That's when they do the kids broadcast. It's like Bernie's birthday too. That's a whole thing.
I want to do 5 minutes here before we get into some other subject matter locally. Since we have Jeremy here, I do want to better understand what it is the Marlins have just done, because did they ask Jazz whether he was good with playing center field, and is he good at playing center field? Because I feel like they now have they had the one position they had solidified was second base, and they got a batting champion at a time that I'm not sure batting champions matter much anymore. I don't know, Billy, were you hurt by Pablo Lopez being traded?
No, we saw it coming. I mean, I'm hurt in that behind the scenes, hashtag influencer, we were looking at being part of Pablo Lopez's celebrity pickleball game this weekend. And now it would appear that probably won't be happening. So Pablo Lopez getting traded hurt my growth as a hashtag influencer because I was asked if I'd like to participate by fourth or fifth parties, and I said absolutely. Just let me know when, and now that's probably not going to happen.
Good analysis so far.
That would have been great, though. Billy's never played pickleball before, right?
It is true. That's true. I've never played pickleball before. Was I hurt? Yeah, I mean, by all reports, he's a very nice guy. I met him like twice. He was always very pleasant and nice.
Well, but as a pitcher, he was a pretty good pitcher. He was their number 2 starter.
Yeah, he was a good pitcher, too, but,
Your analysis is he invited me to pickleball as a nice guy.
That's
Jeremy,
right.
can you give me some good analysis
Well, hold on
it?
a second. We're just revving up here, Dano.
Give him a second.
I think I met him twice. Yeah, I met him twice. He was very
very
pleasant.
nice?
He was also at the Marlins 5K. He was the only player that I recall seeing there. The 5K a couple weeks back. Yeah. You didn't see him? He's a very tall guy. He was bald. He's a guy that looked like Pablo Lopez. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we lost one of our best pitchers, but they thought you were going to lose him anyways. And then Jazz has guaranteed that he will win a Gold Glove in center field. So solved the center field problem. And we got a batting champion. And we lost this scout or this prospect that the Fish Stripes people were really pissed about losing.
If I hear one more time about holding on to a Marlins prospect that the Marlins can't develop anyway, like the Marlins haven't been able to develop hitting prospects anyway. No, it's okay. You know what your strengths are. You can develop pitching. You developed pitching. You traded it away to get an all-star second baseman who led the American League in hitting. It makes all the sense in the world to me. Can confirm Pablo Lopez, very nice guy.
Everyone says he was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Everyone says he was one of the most beloved guys in the clubhouse that wasn't Miguel Rojas, who they also got rid of. Miguel Rojas. What does that sound?
He rubbed some people the wrong way last year. Lots of blockies on Twitter. Didn't like being criticized.
Do we know if Jazz Chisholm can play center field?
We know that Jazz Chisholm has shagged flies in center field, and his teammates were really impressed with it. Ken Rosenthal reported this morning that Jazz offered to Skip Schumacher, his new manager, to play center field. He loves it out there. And that ultimately, like, his view was just, I want to win and stop losing. So if you can acquire an all-star second baseman, I'll move out to center field. I'll be Ken Griffey Jr. I'll win you Gold Gloves. That's what he wants to do. That's what he says.
Doesn't their infield now, I mean, before Jazz moved to center field, didn't it consist of only second baseman and Garrett Cooper?
It's like 5 second basemen on that team.
Cooper's playing first now, right?
Yeah.
He's been playing first. They might sign Yuli Gurriel. They're saying he's another guy. And then you would have the last 2 American League batting champions, which, hey, look, I will say, I came on here last year complaining about the Marlins lineup and said they should just be trying to hit for contact because they can't slug with everybody else. And now what they're doing is seemingly going with that style of a bunch of guys who can play a bunch of different positions, trying to hit for an eye average and piecing it together with Johnny Cueto on the mound.
Base to base.
Did you see his intro, Johnny Cueto, the other day? Oh,
it's amazing.
Dan, it was the ambulance you've been talking about. They parked it out in center field. He danced to the mound. It was great. They're still going to finish in 4th, but it's fun.
It's a really tough division for them.
They're
having fun.
They're trying to go the positionless baseball route.
No, second base. That's the position they're going with.
Even their manager was a second baseman.
Who also played multiple positions.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do you like the Marlins strategy of beating the billion-dollar teams with all second basemen?
Is it bad that of all those second basemen, I want Skip Schumacher to start this year?
I had no idea he was the manager. I mean,
the thing that I don't know, he shagged flies. It seems like those are very different positions, and center field in that park seems like it would be really hard to play even if you're really fast.
They're saying the thought process is the same as it is with Fernando Tatis Jr., which is just freak athlete, put him in the outfield and see what can work if it's less wear and tear on the body than playing infield is too. Jazz was hurt. See if there's an opportunity that he can go out and play center field. And really, like, the Marlins needed to trade for a center fielder this offseason. They couldn't get it done on the Brian Reynolds deal, so they traded for Luis Arias, who has 3 more years of team control, a 25-year-old who was an all-star, led the league in hitting, and their view is if we can maximize Jazz in center field and he can be that guy, then all right, we fixed some of the roster problems that we have.
Billy,
Hey.
Chris Cody, emotionally, how do you feel about this? It's just they're doing something. Are they just moving shells around?
Yeah, I mean, who could be excited about this offseason that they've had? I mean, I could fake it right now and say that I'm excited, but I'm excited. Honestly, Jazz, from all the reports with last year, the schisms and the secret meetings, I'm saying like I'm honestly just happy that he seems to be a team guy.
That was good.
Like, I'm just like he said whatever you need, coach. So that's an improvement off last year.
They went from needing a center fielder to now they have an all-star in center field.
They just traded for a center
Not
fielder.
a center field all-star, but an all-star in center field nonetheless.
What do you guys just imagine, okay? Because it seemed to me like Chris Collinsworth yesterday, when he was talking about high ankle sprains, didn't know what he was talking about as it related to Patrick Mahomes and throwing off of the back foot and some of the things that a quarterback needs. You guys think that a second baseman can just become a center fielder because he's a great athlete? Because he's been training all his life to not be a center fielder. Most center fielders who arrive in the big leagues have played many games in center field all their lives.
I'm trying to make the connection to Collinsworth, high ankle sprain, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not following.
The thing that I'm saying is these guys are like, yeah, he could play center field. And I'm like, do you guys know anything about how hard that is?
If Jazz says he could play center field, I believe him.
As a
You
Gold
do.
Glover too. Yeah,
You were a center fielder.
Exactly.
Tell
That's
us.
true, Dan.
You were a center fielder, Dan.
It seems like a hard position to play, and I guess there's less wear and tear because you don't have people trying to break up double plays around you. But no matter how fast I was, I'd be scared to play center field in that ballpark.
I'm reading here in an article that it says he has played both positions in the past.
There you go.
Okay, good.
He was also a shortstop playing second base, so it's not his first time playing out of position.
And Skip Schumacher also played several games in center field, so
Yeah.
he knows all about the transition.
Classic utility guy.
I mean, I'm feeling good about this season, Dan. What are you thinking?
I don't know why you'd be feeling good about this
79-83 situation?
You know,
What
I
do
should
think?
probably read more thoroughly before I go to air. They were talking about second base and short when they said played both positions. But when I see played both positions for this conversation, you see why. Because this article is about him playing center field. So, anyways,
Go
I'm gonna
sit.
back.
Go
Okay.
sit in the penalty box.
Oh, wow.
A Marcus Whitman writes, getting back to football and the Bills playing a couple of more plays than the Dolphins did this season. This is random, but the Bradley Chubb trade and ensuing contract was such an astronomically poor decision by the Dolphins. They went all in on Bradley Chubb. I don't agree. The contract, maybe. I don't agree with the criticism of the trade. The Broncos' pass rush was much worse when Chubb left, and the Dolphins' pass rush was much better when he came here. Like he clearly opens things up for other players, and the attention on him can make a defensive line better. But this was a catastrophic ending for the Bills season. The Dolphins, the Jets, everybody is chasing the Bills. They're all trying to be the Bills. They will make moves in the offseason meant to be better against Josh Allen, who Stugotz. That team all year was good enough to overcome the fact that he led the league in turnovers. It wasn't just interceptions. It was fumbles. They were good enough to overcome it. They weren't good enough to overcome it yesterday. And the Dolphins are already built to stop that team. And I can't believe that their season ended yesterday in that fashion. To lose is one thing, but in that sport, I expect if they're going to lose, they're going to lose the way Dallas did. That I feel like we all think the Bills are a legitimately good football team. To lose that way at home in a playoff game where you put up your most impotent offensive showing, I'm just floored that that's the way that one went.
You're not shocked that they lost. You're shocked at the way they lost. It was domination start to finish by Cincinnati.
No back-to-back scores.
Yeah.
It was just a boat race.
Right.
And you talked about the turnovers, and there was an interception late, but that game was not decided on the basis of turnovers. It was decided on the basis of they got their asses kicked, particularly up front from a Bengals offensive standpoint. The way that Joe Mixon ran and the way Samaje Perine ran, they were incredible on the ground, and Buffalo just didn't have their usual flow on offense. And I wonder if perhaps the conditions played a role in that.
Bengals did just
You
fine.
know, maybe.
The Bengals were down 3 offensive linemen. They did just fine.
They did overturn a touchdown, which, by the way, what are we doing overturning that? And that call was favorable to the Bills, and it still didn't even make a difference.
Why are we making this so complicated? I've watched football my entire life. Jamar Chase made a touchdown catch during a football game. Like, why do we need to review that? What are we doing?
It's just I thought the replay is if it's clear and obvious, you can overturn the call on the field. The call on the field was a touchdown. Did anybody watch that replay and think, okay, this is obviously not a catch?
I mean, the officiating expert in the booth didn't think it was a catch.
Oh, get out of here, Gene.
No.
They're gonna stripes take care of stripes.
Gene was so great he'd still be on the field.
The rule is the rule. I don't like it either. Just like I don't like some of the stuff they're doing with roughing the passer, but it seemed to me like the ball was moving. Now, I don't like microscopic judging of that, but you're going to pick and choose the times you're going to do the microscopic judging because...
Well, they pick and choose what is and isn't a touchdown, though, right? I think Mike Fuentes pointed out, like, if you're running the ball and the ball simply crosses the line, you don't have any feet in, and someone knocks it out, it's like, well, across the plane, the plane goes all around the world. That's a touchdown forever and ever. Amen. But if you're trying to catch the ball, you have to have a foot down and another foot down and a move, and then you have to hold the ball after it hits the ground, and then if someone's drinking a soda and they spill the soda, then it's still not a catch. Like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Misnomer. Plane doesn't go around the world anymore.
But I think
Really? Where does it stop?
No, you had that. People are stretching for pylons now. You gotta get it.
they do that, yeah.
Gotta touch a pylon.
Wow.
But Mike's point is correct. I mean, Dan, they called it a touchdown on the field. And in the spirit of the rule, you go to the replay booth and it's got to be conclusive evidence. Like, you have to know that he didn't catch that ball. There's no way, looking at the replay, you can make any sort of determination that would allow you to overturn that call.
I think there's a way. It's just that's not the spirit of the rule, I thought.
I am not arguing on behalf of the other side of this. I'm not. I'm just telling you that you can't say that the officials called the rule wrong when they're just applying whatever the rules are with more expertise than we have. I agree with you. My entire life, that's been a catch. That was a catch. I would have kept it a catch. And not because it was ruled a touchdown on the field, because it was a catch.
Yeah, it was a catch. It was a great catch. It was a great play. It didn't end up mattering. Total ass kicking.
And they overturned a fumble, and that was a thing.
Yeah. I had Bills money line. I'm like, whoo, got a lucky one there, and it didn't matter. It's just an ass kicking. They were so much better than the Buffalo Bills. And you can't really be that surprised when you realize the trajectory of each of those teams' season.
Oh, no, wait a minute. The place that I can be surprised, yes, you're right. The Bills are banged up, and they didn't look the same in the second half of the season, the way the Bengals and the 49ers have looked in the second half of the season. But I can be surprised that Burrow was sacked one time for 2 yards. Even though he gets rid of the ball faster than anybody in the league, that offensive line is hurt. And that defensive line, the Bills spent a lot of money on that defensive line. If the Ravens could have bothered the Bengals, I thought that the Bills were going to be able to bother the Bengals. And I am surprised by them getting dragged on their home field by 17 points in a game that was never in doubt.
The weather, though, I mean, may have been the advantage for the Bengals' offensive line, because if your defensive linemen are coming around like the edges and they're slipping and falling and they can't get to Burrow, like I saw that happen a few times, and it might have worked out for them better than we expected, having the 3 backups there.
Another point for Witty's dome observation.
No, that was not a point. That was not a pro Witty comment, by the way. In a vacuum, we're talking about.
But you did say the same thing that he had said about that.
But they shouldn't get a dome because it works both ways.
I watched it.
The Bengals played well.
I watched that game. I was like, man, Lamar Jackson should have played, because I think they'd be in an AFC championship right now.
Oh, it is true. I mean, the Ravens played them so much harder than the Bills did. And it really came down to that Sam Hubbard scoop and score that got the Bengals in this game to begin with. And I think that's why a lot of people were down on the Bengals. They played a way closer game against the Ravens just the weekend before, whereas the Bills played a close game against the Dolphins, and maybe we should have considered that as being more indicative of what would happen in this game.
Witty, speaking of playing in a dome, did you hear Matt Hasselbeck yesterday pregame show? Because of Patrick Mahomes' injury, he was saying he'd be better off playing on a carpet in a dome than playing at home at Arrowhead Stadium. That he'd prefer, if he's Kansas City, to play in Atlanta than at Arrowhead. I thought it was fascinating.
I think Buffalo probably, like, if they get to the conference championship game, they would have rather done that than go on the road to, or like than go on the road to Kansas City. Like, I just can't understand why, like, I get such anger when your team is so good at offense. You score 10 points in the snow, and you're like, we prefer this. We have Josh Allen for the next 15 years, and we prefer to play in awful conditions.
You think Bills fans would trade Josh Allen right now to go on one of the runs that they had in the 90s?
Trade him with a different quarterback to do it.
Well, like,
with?
no, in a fantasy situation, you just kind of like, you know what? I'd trade the situation we're in to go back to the situation we were in the 90s, where we made it to the Super Bowl. We lost, but at least we got there.
So lose 4 straight?
Yeah, but in the Super Bowl.
Right, no, I understand.
Not
No,
division
but
round.
it seems to have scarred their psyche. I would sign up right now for 4 straight Super Bowl losses, but they don't seem to have enjoyed that, which is surprising to me. I would have enjoyed that.
I don't. I have to be careful. Like, I've come in this week. I've come in this week with a very new approach to what I'm doing with everything, which is.
You did just accuse Gene Steratore like 7 minutes ago of not knowing anything.
And I under my breath said that Miguel Rojas was a locker room cancer. I will say this though. I have come into this week thinking, moving forward, Billy, choose your words wisely, because Dan may decide to put him on a billboard a week from now. So everything I say, I'm like, do I want to deal with that for the rest of my life? And I lean towards no on most of those things.
What happened this weekend? Why were you apologizing, not apologizing? What happened?
Well, I mean, if I could be completely honest with you, I got some strongly worded digital correspondences from some possible management that said, "Hey, we can't do the billboard thing. Can you bail us out here and do an apology so we can end this gimmick?" And I said, "It's the weekend. I have my family, but okay." So I went and I put on my back brace and I said, "I guess I'm gonna have to carry us again." So I got in the car, risked my life, driving down here on a Saturday. Yeah, risked my life. Cars are super dangerous, man. I'm telling you. Every time you get in a car, you're risking your life. No,
You came into the studio on a weekend?
Yeah, I was here Saturday morning because I wanted to make sure to get it done and get it out on time.
Employee of the year.
No, not from. I offered to do it from home, and he's like, "No, John, I'll go to your house." And I'm like, there's chaos at my house 24/7. I'm not going to be able to keep the dogs and the baby quiet. I'm going to go to the studio and make things easier for John, because poor John, very nice man. But I know that everyone has a
Skipper,
line.
by the way.
No,
Clarify.
No,
Skipper
John.
recording the apology.
John Skipper flies in to do all of our social media stuff. Yeah. So it came in, did the video, and then it went out. And what was the question?
Hello, Billy. I'd like to do your computer work today.
I am limited fake John Skipper's not terrible. Kind of
looks like you need an update on your Mac.
Witty, Chris, Whittingham,
Dan Le Batard.
You, Billy,
Mr. Stugotz.
have said to me that management nixed it. Why am I learning?
No, they sent it. No, not nixed it. They sent us strongly worded digital correspondences in various forms, just saying, "Hey, the billboard thing's not working out." Buffalo, the whole city banded together and said, "No, thank you. And, we have to do something."
But
here."
Whittingham,
Okay,
what
gotcha,
happened
guys.
to planes and vehicles and everything that was being planned that just ended with the whimpering fart of Billy coming into the studio with John Skipper on Saturday and apologizing, not apologizing?
We had a very difficult time procuring anything in Buffalo. It turns out they're very protective of their bills in Buffalo. So finding companies that were willing to do business with us was quite the challenge.
I decided to be a team player, Dan.
We're the only thing the Bills beat this weekend. We're the only things that Buffalo beat this weekend. The city prevented us. I saw a billboard saying he had was that fake? Was that Photoshop? Somebody put up a billboard beating us to it by saying he's got a smart looking face.
I believe so. I cannot verify the veracity of that picture just because anyone can Photoshop anything, but it seemed like that was real.
That is so dumb. Because anybody that drives by that, if it was real, anyone that drives by that now is saying to themselves, well, someone said he has a stupid face, I guess. Like, there's people that don't listen to our show. Way more people had the thought, does he have a dumb face? Like that thought was created by them trying to play.
Thinking about
We're
it, yeah.
so in their heads with that billboard.
Yep.
I think get the rights to use that photo.
Yeah. The Sabres beat Anaheim, by the way.
Tage Thompson's good, dude.
The Sabres.
Were you guys surprised by that? Again, I think about what I say before I say now. Were you guys surprised Bills Mafia kind of let the Bengals fans overrun their stadium? It was so loud for the Bengals the whole game.
And particularly in the run-in in the fourth quarter, there was a lot of hoo-day chants.
Lots of hoo-days.
Was it that the Bengal fans were that loud, or that the Bills fans were that quiet? that you just couldn't hear anything? Because I imagine Bills fans, you don't understand the post-traumatic stress disorder that franchise has from losing those 4 Super Bowls, from having that passed down through generations, and daring to hope on this quarterback, daring to hope on this team. This was the most hopeful representation of the Bills since the team that was going to the Super Bowl all those years.
Bengals fans have that too, though. Joe Burrow's won more playoff games now than their entire franchise has in the entire existence of his franchise pre-Joe Burrow. And Marvin Lewis lost, I can't remember off the top of my head, I think it was 7 playoff games when they had Andy Dalton, and they were a decent team for a while. They have lost brutally for their entire existence. They are a depressing fan base also, and they're rallying around their team. If you're going to do Buffalo versus Cincinnati, they both have a reason to be incredibly sad about their franchises.
Yeah. Peaks and valleys. They made 2 Super Bowls against the Niners in a time before you were around, but they've been terrible pretty much.
They hadn't won a playoff game since 1990.
Yeah.
Until last year. So that is a suffering. That is a suffering fan base.
Bills fans had no reason to cheer that entire game outside of the DeMar Hamlin appearance, which the right is convinced was a body double.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that thing's happening.
Because the photos, because it was snowing, and
because it was snowing, his face was covered, and no questions. Everyone is. I'm on the group chats, guys.
Okay,
They're convinced body double.
So wait a minute. So this goes down the path of he fell down that way because he was vaxxed, and because
you know what they've convinced themselves of, yeah.
Okay, but I haven't been familiar with. I did not realize that a conspiracy theory. I saw that a preacher / comedian was doing Hamlin jokes this weekend, like falling on a stage, but I had not seen that there was the conspiracy theory spouted, because it was snowing and it was hard to see that it was him. And we haven't seen 4 weeks. We haven't seen but a couple of videos. So I just can't believe that we're now weaponizing and conspiracy soaking these things too.
This is taking a turn.
Yeah. I wouldn't have
weird one.
I wouldn't have expected.
I saw him walk into the stadium with his mom.
Well, I saw him wasn't he hooded though? You can't start the conspiracy theory if anyone saw his face as clearly as you're claiming.
Stugotz doing some real reporting on this.
I was watching the pregame show. I wasn't reporting anything. He walked into the
pregame show.
Oh, I love a good pregame show. Yeah.
Which one is your favorite? The 7 dudes on Fox or the 7 dudes on CBS?
I had the 7 dudes on CBS on because it was headed right into the game, you know?
I feel bad for Howie Long sometimes.
Why?
Because I think they went the full first segment of halftime yesterday. I don't think he said a single word.
He's fine.
I mean, I know the check clears.
He's a heartthrob. He's fine.
I know the check clears, but it's like, all right, you go Jimmy, and then you go Strahan, and then you go and no one's wondering.
Maybe he didn't want to say anything.
How does Howie Long feel? I want to know his thoughts. I just want to know.
My Grammy used to tune in just for Howie Long. She called him her boyfriend. Yep. He's got fans, Witty.
You're
Reaches
saying
a different demo than you, maybe.
You're saying, Whittingham, that Howie Long, it was too crowded? That Howie Long, the original...
Oh, that set is so crowded.
They had Sean Payton there.
They had Gronk in the pregame. Yeah. I mean, the score was 6-9 at halftime, and they'd yank Rob Gronkowski out of there. Who's producing that? But either way, I mean, it's 6 people.
Yeah.
How can and like you're doing a 4-minute halftime segment, a commercial break, and then like a 3-minute halftime segment. Halftime the NFL way too short. It's like 13 and a half minutes. Yeah, it's
what?
Like,
too short.
65,000 people.
It's a sprint. Yeah.
65,000 people trying to get up, pee, and
What,
get
are you
food
trying
in
to go
13
read
and a half
a chapter
minutes.
of Pride and Prejudice at halftime, Witty?
No, I'm just saying it's too short.
It should be longer.
Football.
It should be longer.
He's right about this. Listen, hear him out.
If you've gone to an NFL game, if you go in the stadium, 70,000 people are trying to get up and pee all at the same time. Not everyone makes it back to their seat. Can you make it 3 minutes longer? Can we have a lengthier halftime discussion about the game?
Pee before you leave the house.
Don't pee at halftime, first of all. Pee during pee during the last
So miss some form of it. You're either missing action on the front end or missing action on the back end.
TVs, and they pipe the sound into the bathroom. And you watch it on your phone sometimes. If you're a goal, you have to sit to pee anyways.
At Bills games, there's a line the entire game.
Yeah.
In most stadiums, you go in the middle of the quarter. There was I went in like the middle of the first quarter. Like, let me go real fast and try before and long line.
I know this isn't allowed, but given that you guys seem to be arguing about different things, you're allowed to both be right. Whittingham is saying it's too short at the stadium, and it's too long if you're betting and you want the second half to start, and you just can't. You need your fix because there's only one game on yesterday at 6 o'clock, and you want at halftime for it to restart as fast as possible, but not if you want to go to the bathroom or concession.
To his point, Niners Cowboys at the start of the third quarter, the stadium was empty.
Yeah, well,
so
you need to know when to go to get your food and when to go to get the bathroom and when to do those things. Yeah, what?
The 49ers Dallas game, we have still normalized that Jerry Jones is giving press conferences.
McCarthy's getting fired, right?
Yeah.
Just because he said he wasn't?
He's getting fired.
Jerry Jones is definitely thinking about firing him.
Jerry Jones. Okay, why do we have Jerry Jones as this cutthroat evil owner? He hung on. He hung
History.
on. He hung on to Jason Garrett for like 5 years longer than anyone else would have.
Because Garrett was willing to say whatever he wanted him to say.
Chris Whittingham, this is one of your worst takes
You guys
ever.
have Mike McCarthy as some kind of maverick that's not towing the company line with Jerry Jones? Mike McCarthy's going to be the coach for a decade.
What is his worst take?
Why do we think Jerry Jones is this like evil maniacal owner?
Okay, specifically with coaches. Like he's been incredibly lenient with coaches. He hung on to Dave Campo for 3 years longer than anybody else would have.
Just because he's bad at owning a team and managing his coaching staff doesn't mean that he's like this very.
Oh no,
he's not doing it for altruistic reasons.
Correct. I'm just saying, like, he wants to win the Super Bowl with a stooge of a coach. Yeah. Like he doesn't.
He already did with Barry Switzer.
He's not gonna pay $25 million a year for Sean Payton. He doesn't want Sean Payton to have all the credit. He wants to go up on that stage, win the Super Bowl, and like, hey, look, I won it with Mike McCarthy. That's what he wants.
We need to just stay right for a second on that final play, though. Zeke Elliott. Did you like him just getting bull rushed? It was just such a perfect chef's kiss for how that game needed
That's
to
his
end.
last play as a Cowboy at center. Like he won't play for the Cowboys.
You saw him before that. He's kind of like, this is good. This is gonna work. I'm center. I'm not eligible. This is great. Hike, boom, just like totally, just fantastic.
I love the timeout that D'Amico Ryans took right before that. He's like, all right, if they do this again, if they do this shit again, we are giving Dak 0 time because we're sending 2 dudes at Zeke.
I love the idea of D'Amico Ryans looking to the opposite sideline and going, "You sure?"
Yeah. That's what he was doing. He was looking at the opposite. He was on his tiptoes, like trying to see if Ezekiel Elliott would show up as an ineligible center once again.
It was like the Colts play all over again. It was great.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. Did someone place Mike McCarthy in an F-16? Like, what happened there?
I started liking Mike McCarthy. Not being able to trust his kicker, he started being more aggressive because he couldn't kick the ball. And I was like, who's this new mavericky Mike McCarthy? Is he going to win 2 Super Bowls? You had the weekend observation last week. What do we do if Mike McCarthy wins 2 Super Bowls? And I wasn't prepared to reconcile with that. And I'm very glad I don't have to.
F-16 seemed very tight.
They do, yeah.
McCarthy, it would be a tight squeeze. It's a funny visual because that seems to be a very uncomfortable space.
He looks like the 4-star general that's yelling at Maverick.
Right, but now imagine Sean Payton in an F-16. Oh, boy.
Maybe I'm projecting my own fear during that Cowboys game, but Dak Prescott looked scared on the sideline. Am I the only one that it really did look? He looked like a guy that was like rattled. He was like giving guys high fives like before that final drive. But it just like maybe like I said, I had a lot on the Cowboys, so I might be projecting here. But he looked scared on the sideline.
He didn't. With 45 seconds left, he went around the huddle and fist bumped everybody. I'm like, what are you doing? You have no chance. Your legacy is on the line. Everyone's going to hate you.
He hates Dalton Schultz, though. We can all agree, right? Dalton Schultz, please.
I want to go back for a second, though. I don't believe that Sean Payton looks better in the cockpit of a fighter plane than Jason Garrett. I think Jason Garrett looks more like the fighter pilot than Sean Payton does. Just sort of, you have to be lean. You have to have a bit of chiseled features that Sean Payton doesn't exactly have the chin that you need.
Are we talking Sean Payton or Kevin James Sean Payton?
This was the first time I watched the main Fox broadcast with sound on, without any other distractions going on. Greg Olsen is really good.
Everyone thinks so.
Yeah,
he
he's
was
excellent.
terrific.
Every tweet yesterday was about Greg Olsen to the point where I was
Really?
like, you know what? He's not that good anymore.
He was awesome.
I've read too many tweets praising him.
It was awesome.
It
What-
is rare to have a broadcaster
I am a hater,
praised
Tony.
like that. The number of people that were going after Collinsworth on Saturday, like a real poisonous turn on Collinsworth. But I'm used to guys getting negative. Doris Burke and Greg Olsen are the only ones that almost every time they do a broadcast, I'm hearing enthusiasm about how good they are, and they're going to replace him, right? I mean, Tom Brady, if Tom Brady ever retires.
That's funny.
I'm just saying there were reports that
Don't make me laugh so early.
there were reports that $375 million is available to Brady if he's got to be the number one team. You're not going to put him on Colts Texans at 1:00 on a Sunday. That's the regional game.
I love pairing him with Chris Myers and sending it to 6% of the country for Saints Jags 1:00 window.
Why is it that you're getting universal applause when in sports the broadcaster does not get that? Like,
Well, I think
Dickie
it's,
V was getting dragged this
well,
weekend.
it's newness. It's newness. Like Greg Olsen is very good, but like he hasn't annoyed us yet. And like a lot of people are given that berth. Tony Romo was given that berth, and now he's getting criticized. But it's newness, and I also think the very upper echelon of these guys are incredibly perceptive about everything. And there's that moment late in the fourth quarter where Dalton Schultz goes out of bounds. The referee winds the clock, and he knows straight away to go. He went out of bounds running backwards. That means you wind the clock. And I don't think anybody watching at home knew that rule. And it was the exact right analysis for that moment. And he brings that so many times throughout the game. It's a level of perception that only the very upper echelon of guys have.
Yeah, but the NFL changes the rules so often that he's not going to know the rules in 2 seasons.
That's a problem.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Billy. That's what happened to Romo.
And the opposite of that was Burkhardt calling Elijah Mitchell Donovan Mitchell.
He covered up for it nicely. But there were other things, too. It's like when Anthony Barr got caught.
We think it's so easy.
When Anthony Barr just allowed a 7-yard slant, and it's something that no other color commentator would come in and say Anthony Barr did a bad job there, because you have no idea where Anthony Barr is supposed to be. He just has a deep knowledge of what every position is supposed to do.
They've turned on Romo.
Jim, I don't know. Jim.
Yeah, there is an awful announcing piece that outlined like 5 or 6 different critiques of Tony Romo. Wow. And the internet is starting to
What,
turn.
that he's having too much fun? I love Tony Romo. I haven't given up on him yet.
Same. I'm with you.
But we're that eager. What is it about? We're Tinder for broadcasters. We can't be monogamous to the old timers. We have to criticize.
Do you have sex with them, Dan?
I feel like the reactions emotionally on the internet to announcers is the kind of stuff you have around people you have sex with. Yes.
Did this all start with Dick Ebersol calling out Tony Romo?
Thought you were making a dick joke.
Oh.
This did not start with Dick. It didn't. It started like
But it ends with Dick. To Dan, I guess. Anyways. I think everyone just turned off Red Zone for the first time all season when the playoffs started, and now it's like, oh shit, Greg Olsen's doing a great job. Oh, Tony Romo, why is he eating?
What was he eating? Was it a cough drop?
I think he said it was gum. I don't know, because then they went back to the booth and broke it all down.
It'd been amazing if it were Molly.
No, he said he swallowed it. It was not dip. He would not have swallowed dip.
Just took a tab, Jim.
I love when
Jim, I am tripping.
Tripping balls, Jim.
I love when they show him in the booth and he does that smirk where you don't see his teeth at all. It's just like his lips together. Like, I'm doing it, podcast audience. I'm doing it right now.
Maybe he is on Molly.
Gum seems like the worst thing a broadcaster could put in their mouth, right?
Impossible.
Yes. I mean,
I beg to differ based on what it is that Jessica's accused me of.
I appreciate the setup. I'm staying away from it.
Dick?
See you, Gary.